Bryce Young benched. We talked about this late in the show, I think in Grab Bag yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So really at the tail end of the show, the news came out. Bryce Young, the number 1 overall pick a year ago by the Carolina Panthers, who moved up in the draft.
Oh, they traded a lot.
Traded away a ton. The main particulars, but just know there's more to it. They traded away what eventually became the future number 1 pick, Caleb Williams, and DJ Moore. They could have held on to DJ Moore and had their pick of the litter at quarterback, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, even Drake Maye in this year's draft if they just held off for a year. But they moved up the board. They took Bryce Young.
2 firsts, 2 seconds, and DJ Moore.
Yeah, so there was a crap load in that trade. And I don't know what all those other picks became. I think one of them is an offensive line that I don't know that I'd be crowing about their offensive line if I'm the Bears watching Caleb Williams get the crap kicked out of him.
They also get a second-round pick next year, which will probably be 33 overall.
Yeah. Well, good point.
You know what I mean?
Right,
It's going to be like the best second-round pick.
It's basically another first-round pick. And so he's benched. And you can jump in on here on Jones and Keefe, 617-779-7937. I'll give you the numbers quick, Keefe. Through 2 years.
How do you do? Tell me.
Let me tell you quickly. Not very good.
How do you play?
Actually, let me pull this up on it. I want to get his wins and losses here. I only have his raw numbers in front of me.
I got his. You got it. Go
Ready?
ahead.
He is in his career 2-16.
All right, so a couple wins.
Not great, Bob.
No, but a couple wins under his belt.
2-14 a year ago.
So 2 teams lost to Bryce Young. You can look at it that way.
Correct. That's a good point.
He's got 2 dubs.
He's 0-2 this year, so that adds up to 2-16.
Right.
59% of his passes he's completed.
That's low.
In 18 games, he's at 3,100 yards, 11 touchdowns.
Oh, how? Okay.
13 picks.
No.
That's a quarterback rating of 33.4 QBR. I'm sorry.
QBR, I was going to say. Geez.
Quarterback rating 71.
Got it.
Is he the worst? Is he the worst first-round pick of all time?
He might be the worst,
first overall pick.
The number 1 overall pick, he very well could be. I was shocked by this news. I really was, because this is a terrible team. And I get what Ian Rappaport's saying. He's like, you got a new coach in there, and at some point, if the rest of the teammates have given up on the guy, like, you're kind of doing a disservice to everybody.
And I think that's what's happening. And you have Deontay Johnson on that team who was squawking about it every week in Pittsburgh last year.
But it's just like you not only took him number 1, but to your point, traded all that stuff to take him number 1, and it's 2 games into year 2.
Right.
And last year was so bad, but you blamed the coach and you fired the coach. So you have a new coach. This is the guy. He's on his rookie deal. You have him for 3 more years after this, and you're benching him. I was shocked because they're not supposed to be very good. So isn't all this year just trying to make sure Bryce Young is all right? And even if you suck this year, then so be it. Then you pull the plug. Then maybe you draft Quinn Ewers or you start over. You do like a Josh Rosen, Kyler Murray situation.
Yeah.
Maybe you do that. But you don't start Andy Dalton week 3. But to answer your question, the only other one that really jumps out, and we're only talking number 1 picks.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
37937 said it. It's the first one that comes to my mind, too. Jamarcus Russell.
100%. So 2007, the Raiders draft Jamarcus Russell. Now, he ended up starting 25 games.
Uh-huh.
That's more than Bryce Young.
Yep.
And who knows? Bryce Young could come back at some point. But as of right, if you're writing the book on Bryce Young, it's fewer starts. It is a better quarterback rating, barely. What did you say, 70 and change?
71.
He's 65.2. Now, 1 year, Jamarcus Russell went 5-10 and threw 13 touchdowns to 8 picks.
That's something.
It's better than Bryce Young.
Yeah, it's not good, but it's better than Bryce Young.
Then the following year, he went 2-7, then was out of the league. He had 3 touchdowns, 11 picks in that year. So his rookie year, he barely played, which is kind of shocking. Barely played as a rookie. Then started 15 games his second year, and then 9 games his third year, and then was out of the league.
Yeah, how come we don't hear about Jamarcus Russell when you bring along a quarterback slowly? Brady sat.
Yeah.
Mahomes
Russell.
sat.
What about Russell?
Yeah,
Russell sat.
So did Jamarcus
So real
Russell.
quick, since 99, because I was just taking the quarterbacks, number 1 overall picks, so 25 drafts. Tim Couch.
So Couch, I just pulled up Couch's numbers. That's another one I
Not
thought
great,
of.
but way better. He had 1 year, wasn't he not bad? Or no?
Yeah, so he did have a year where he was, I'm not going to say good, but the Browns were 7-9.
Yeah.
They had another year where they were 8-6. He went 17-21, touchdowns to picks, 18-18. He was 64-67 for his career.
All right, but you at least played it. Did he start 3 full seasons?
He started 5 years.
Okay, so I mean, he sucked,
all in Cleveland,
but like light years better than Bryce Young.
And to your point, they didn't give up a haul to move up to go get him, and neither I don't think the Raiders did for Russell either.
No. Michael Vick in 01, David Carr in 02. So that'd be another guy we'd have to
bad one.
Take a look at. This is one of the ones that keeps getting brought up about you can get broken. Now, he did stay in the league for 10 years. He started just about every game for Houston, though, for 5 years. So he wasn't a great quarterback, but light years better than Bryce Young.
He was their quarterback.
Yeah, he
was
was.
their bad quarterback. Yeah.
Carson Palmer, Eli Manning, Alex Smith, Marcus Russell, who we already talked about, Matthew Stafford, Sam Bradford. He had some issues, but he was actually Offensive Rookie of the Year, and really more injuries that slowed Bradford down. Cam Newton, Andrew Luck, Jameis Winston, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams. So it's him and Russell.
Since 99, it's him, Russell. Throw Couch on the short list if you want as
Carr. Well, no, Carr actually was okay. I mean,
by the way, we're getting a lot of text. 37937 Ryan Leaf. He was the number 2 overall pick.
Yeah, he was the number 2 pick.
We're talking purely the number 1 overall pick. Yeah.
Yeah, especially because Ryan Leaf, classic bust. He's one of the faces of being a bust, but he was drafted after Peyton Manning. So the Colts, made the right call. This is also an example of not only did they take Bryce Young 1, they directly took him over C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
So, disaster. Like, you can make a strong case he's the worst one ever. If you want to tell me Jamarcus Russell, fine. I'll take that one, too.
Yeah.
But in their 2 wins last year, they scored a combined 24 points.
There you go.
They won 15-13 over Houston in Week 7.
So he beat
and then
Stroud.
9-7 over Atlanta.
Stroud was hurt for a chunk of time last year. Was that one of the games Stroud missed?
Maybe.
Interesting. He beat Stroud.
But he beat Houston. Yeah,
Stroud played.
Wow.
So they beat a division winner.
Tough. Makes you rethink C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, maybe not very good.
But the other problem is you mentioned Stroud. Richardson had a horrible game last weekend, but it looks like he's a better player than Bryce Young. At least he still has a job.
But also these guys that were bad early or got benched by their teams, only a couple of them, a handful of them, they kind of just suck. Yeah. I don't think it's a thrown in to the Wolves, because now you're getting into this, thrown in, or they had a bad O-line, or they had this, that's all right, so when did they catch on somewhere else and get good?
Right.
Other guys like Peyton Manning, we didn't even go back as far as him, but Peyton Manning had a really bad rookie year. That team probably wasn't ready for him, and then he ended up being one of the 10 greatest quarterbacks ever.
Yeah, so did the Panthers ruin him? And this, of course, ties into the Drake Maye discussion. And you can jump in here on Jones and Keefe, 617-779-7937. A lot of ways you can interact at Jones and Keefe on Twitter and Instagram. You can watch on twitch.tv/Boston WEEI or on YouTube. Subscribe to WEEI. Did the Panthers ruin him, or does he just suck? I think that's a good debate. I'd lean that he sucks. I don't see much out of him where I go, oh, my gosh, that's off the charts skill set-wise. You compared him to Kyler Murray size-wise yesterday.
Size-wise, but not
he doesn't move the same way.
Yeah.
And so, he might just be bad. And is it a cautionary tale for Drake Maye? This is the thing you start to hear over and over and over again. The worst thing would be you play Drake Maye. He's not ready. You got to bench him. He's ruined. And now you have Bryce Young 2.0. Do you think that's in the range of outcomes with New England?
I do think one of the reasons why he's not playing is they want more around him. I've kind of been resigned to that fact. It's not what I would do, but I feel like they might be almost as they might feel as justified with the Bryce Young news as they do watching Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and my guy Bo Picks.
Mm-hmm.
I think those guys.
Bo Picks.
I think so. You see those guys not playing very well. And they're like, see, we got to give him a minute. Because the Bryce Young thing too, Carolina might be the worst franchise in sports, and that's not even hyperbole. What's the worst franchise now? And so, they might just. There's a chance they just break good players, but I was never sold on Bryce Young anyway. But it'll be curious to see after Andy Dalton, whoever they bring in there, who's that? Is that going to be the next? Cleveland ruined all these quarterbacks, and the Jets ruined all these quarterbacks. I feel like Carolina might be that. But it's also hard to say because I don't think Bryce Young's going to go somewhere else and be really good either.
No. Well, let's see with Dalton, too. I mean, if Carolina all of a sudden looks like a functional offense with Andy Dalton, and they did the one game he started last year, then that's more of an indictment on Young.
That's pretty clear.
And less on what they do and, quote-unquote, ruining a quarterback. So, look, the one thing I'll say about Drake Maye, from a physical standpoint, he's nothing like Bryce Young.
No.
Bryce Young had a lot working against him. Little, which I'm with you. I'm not anti the little quarterback. I am anti the little quarterback who's unathletic.
Yeah, you got to be special in some other way.
And can't run. I mean, and can't throw, rather.
Yeah.
That's a problem when you don't have any special attributes and you're tiny. Drake Maye has the arm. He has the athleticism. He has the size. Now, maybe he can't play, but he doesn't have some of the same physical limitations that Bryce Young has. And Bryce Young is another one of these Alabama quarterbacks. And they had a little bit of a comeback. Tua's been good with weapons in the NFL. I like Jalen Hurts, although Jalen Hurts wasn't a pure Alabama guy.
Yeah, I count him as an Oklahoma guy. But he really got nasty at Oklahoma.
But Mac Jones had everything around him. It didn't translate. Same thing with this guy.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to project those when you have the defense and the offensive line and the
Everything.
5-star wide receivers and Heisman winners.
And the best offensive coordinators in the world.
And then you come to the NFL and you don't have it.
Whoops.
Bryce Young looks like a different player.
Yep.
So you can jump in on this. 617-779-7937. Larry's in the car waiting patiently. Go ahead, Larry.
Hey guys, how are you?
Great.
This is my problem with all this discussion, and I'm glad Carolina was the lead-in. Why do we care about wins and losses? We're not going to Ramondre Stevenson our way to a Super Bowl, and making the playoffs would just be worse.
Okay, hang on, Larry. Making the playoffs would be bad?
You're going to get a worse pick, and you're still not going anywhere.
But you're in the playoffs.
Yeah, but you're still in the playoffs.
If you're telling me you're a 6 or 7 win team and that's the worst place, fine. We can debate that and argue about that. But I would take the playoffs. I would take the sacrifice that in the draft for the playoffs.
I get what Larry's saying, but you can't start by being like wins and losses don't matter when they literally are the only thing that matter. But I would also say I'm not anti, like in the NBA, there was like 3 seasons as a Celtics fan that you're like, yeah, you need a tank. And they did, and they didn't even really get the picks that they wanted to. Baseball, we've seen a lot of teams do it, and it's a brutal season, and then ultimately it kind of helps you. We talked about this before the year began when we thought the Patriots might be in the mix for the number 1 pick, and they still could be in the mix for the number 1 pick. It's too long a season, and the nature of the sport, you don't do it now. You try to win as many games as possible, and then if the last 3 weeks of the season you're like, well, actually,
bingo.
If we lose now, but even then, it's more for like the quarterback, or it'd be like that, which isn't even the case for this team right now. Win as many games as you can. I don't think it's going to be a lot, but you're trying to win the games right now.
If you're a 2-win team in December, let's start talking about tanking and trying to improve your draft pick, and I'll get on board with it.
But like, play it out.
They could be they should be 2-0 with a chance to go to 3-0 on Thursday Night Football. I don't know why we're talking about tanking and why wins aren't important. 617-779. 793.7. It's Tuesday, so power rankings are coming out around the NFL. ESPN is the Patriots 25th.
Not bad.
I like Florio, Pro Football Talk. He had the Patriots 25th as well. He said they're still a lot better than anyone expected, mainly because everyone expected them to stink.
All right.
Fair enough.
Take it.